Shalom, nigger! I am Xeno Chimera, an autist, honorary rabbi Aryan of the Xenomorph Hive, and today I have come not to give you the gift of Kool-Aid, but an actual video review. Oh my god! That's right, a once-in-a-while offering, and today's Aztec blood god sacrifice is none other than Epoch.
Traveling in a fried-out combi on a hippie trailhead full of zombies. I met a strange lady, she made me nervous. She took me in and gave me breakfast. She said, "You come from a land down under, for women glow and men thunder. But you hear the thunder, they better run like they take.
Holy shit, H. Jones, get the fuck out of here.
We need to go now. The deep state is scraping our signals. They're eating the babies. No time to explain.
4 a.m. Nigga, what the fuck?
Antarctica.
Now, Epoch is a 2012 mobile game developed by Uppercut Games and ported to PC in about 2014. Now, usually in any retrospective review, I would spend the next 10 minutes, giving you a sob story about the devs. However, this is not the channel for that, as not only is there little to nothing on Uppercut, other than their most notable games, other than the Epoch duology, consists of a roguelite melee game, City of Brass, and a walking sim. But sir, you must respect the scope of the game. The poor game devs who work in air-conditioned environments demand your respect. Their stories must be heard. Well, I counter that with a who the fuck asked. Game dev should be uneventful, and while yes, there are foobar situations every now and then, a bunch of guys hunched over computers either fucking up the game with incompetence or getting fucked over by higher-ups isn't that interesting. It happens all the time in various fields. Regardless, I'm not going to guilt trip you, the audience, into liking something because someone got the short end of the stick. Believe it or not, game devs are not the saints people are gaslit into believing by performative virtue-signaling dinguses. They're not soldiers with families sent to die for Israel, just people making things and succeeding or failing because of incompetence or workplace politics, as at the end of the day, all that matters is if the game is good or not. And I guarantee nobody clicks on a mobile game review to hear me spin a sob story about a Who game dev team and their mostly forgotten mobile game. Now, I say mostly because I remember it very well, as I am an autist, and I used to have an iPad that I played on many years ago. And Epoch was one of the few highlights of mobile games, before they all became brain-dead asset flips that more than likely served as spyware, or at least when those were of higher quality and they were real games. Epoch can be best described as a third-person arcade cover shooter. The core gameplay loop consists of aiming your cursor, which is the only notable difference from the original experience, as on mobile, you tap on a target and it auto-targets enemies with a slower pace. You can move between one of 3 spaces, each of which you can take cover behind, as well as hop from one end to the other, which is very cumbersome at times. You also have 4 tiers of weapons and armor that are similar, just with buff stats and new designs. And to help you out in combat, there are grenades that you can lob at enemies, missiles to inflict more damage on multiple or singular targets, and a special ability like slow down time, generate, infinite ammo, shield, decoy. There is also a shop filled with overpriced goods, and every time you finish a level, you gain credits, XP, a diary log, and some equipment. Now, if it sounds like I'm being generic, I am, because I will explain things into detail as we progress through the narrative, or lack thereof. So, the game starts on easy, which, by the way, is the only difficulty available for first-time players, and full disclosure, I already beat the game and got midway into the next difficulty before I started the review. So the game really starts with our great Georgia droid waking up after activating his vent reactor. I mean Epoch wakes up in a robot ravaged dystopia where his objective is to find Princess Amelia. No, not that one. And immediately encounters one of the main enemy types, the Grunt, who is the second most annoying. You will be facing them all throughout the game, and all enemies, not just the Grunt, all enemies have special elemental effects, whether it be regular ammo, electric, plasma, and the most annoying, acid, which destroys your health bar. Nonetheless, I shoot the explosive collectible in the back, which grants me oh so few shekels, which God knows we'll need, and mow my way through the clanker menaces, so I can rescue Amelia and travel to Agartha. Now, this might be a good time to elaborate on the movement system. So the way it works is there are 3 spaces you can take cover behind, and you can roll between the 3 or hop only from the farthest end to the other end. And there are times when it feels like it takes 10 to 12 business days to register, which on higher difficulties is a death sentence. Next mission, we are going shopping, not for Goyslop, but for Clanker. So after mowing down more inanimate objects, we encounter the 5th most annoying enemy in the game. The
Pussy. Oh.
himself. The Grenader who lobs grenades that explode after a certain amount of time. This guy is brain dead easy retarded on his own, however, he is a chore when paired with certain enemies on higher difficulties. So after that, we beat the level and loot from the rich clankers and redistribute the wealth to ourselves, just like any good Robin Hood-esque archetype. Next, we head up to residential archaeology, where we rinse and repeat, albeit this time it's different as due to the verticality with some enemies having the high ground, it's pretty hard to hit them without explosives. Nevertheless, going through hordes of metallic menaces as we finish and move on to the next level, the business district, where we start in the subway, not fighting pedos or hobos, but more clickers. Now, this is the level where we are exposed to the 4th most annoying enemy in the game, the Slicer, an enemy who slowly shoots out a steady beam of bullshit from the left to the right and vice versa. On their own, they are a cakewalk, but when in a wild pack of clankers, they, coupled with your jank movement and other enemies pressing you, can lead to some tense and downright bullshit situations. Also, where you're introduced to this bot, there's a bugged box that takes forever to explode, so it's not worth shooting now. But nonetheless, we beat the level and move on to the next, to get a taste of the hard bullshit that is to come and beat the level, and move on almost ad nauseum. Next up is the Cross City Freeway, and I will take this opportunity to say, while this game is UE3 engine, it looks good. The levels and robots are really cool looking. Now, after following the format of 3 waves for about 4 to 5 enemies that you fight 2 to 3 at a time, which is the formula that 8 out of the 10 levels follow, now this is the level where we encounter the 3rd most annoying enemy in the game, the Blaster. Who, despite having it to charge his attack, is rather speedy, and his energy ball hits you through cover. Your only bet against them is dodging as they fire, because their tracking isn't the best, but on higher difficulties when normal bots shoot you, as you're dodging the Ass Blaster's attack, they peg you pretty hard.
I pegged you! I pegged you, Dan! I pegged you!
You crushed it!
I
You did very good tonight.
you! I fucking pegged you!
You did. What's going on over there? You did fine.
Which goes for a lot of the enemies, because dodging is far more useful than staying in cover, because it gives you more time to shoot the clankers, because they have to readjust their aim to your current location. So the main loop is activate your special, throw a nade to single out an enemy, launch your rockets every now and then, and jump right to left shooting machines so that the level is done. And we end up on Boyle Mullins Tunnel, which we cut through a whole lot of slicers and, depending on the difficulty, acid shooting ones, but despite that, this is one of the easiest levels in the game. Next up is the Glorious Arms Apartments, where difficulty picks up a bit. So after equipping my loadout, I then give all my enemies a lead enema, which leads me to talk about the guns and equipment. Like I've mentioned before, there are 4 tiers of weapons. There is the minigun, which serves as a burst rifle. It does a decent amount of damage, but when almost every enemy can take about a mag dump before death, it's not always ideal. There is a lightning gun,
What are you here for? To worship me? Kill yourself. I mean that.
which does little damage but has a high ammo capacity and arcs to other enemies, depending on their location, meaning this weapon is only useful on certain levels for crowd control. And then there is the acid weapon of the game that spews bursts of acid
I'm poisoned. Why am I toxic? What?
that do damage over time. However, you might need to hit them multiple times to achieve any effect, as the sort of damage over time rate isn't really the best, if I'm going to be honest. Then there is the grenade launcher, one of the most useful weapons in the game, as it hits enemies from cover and is the only firearm that can get some of those secret boxes. Lastly, there's the laser gun, which does decent damage and has a decent fire rate, but has the accuracy of a post-coitus piss. There are 4 tiers of grenades. There's a regular explosive, an acid grenade that deals damage over time, a stun grenade, and my personal favorite, the plasma grenade, which slows enemies by 90% if you have the highest tier, and lasts a second longer than the actual stun grenade, thereby making it the most useful. Missiles serve as the equivalent of the BFG, as they often take about a minute to recharge and they can hone in on multiple targets at a time, reducing their health. They also can have elemental effects. Then there are the special moves, which do something unique and are more for defensive purposes. There's a bot dock, which can heal you up to a quarter of your health on the highest tier, which is important for first-time players as they will lose health. And when you go down a quarter of your health, you cannot get it back. So when you have 4 quarters of your health and you each lose one, you can't get them back. It's Jover. It never began. Then there's Quick Draw, which is effectively infinite ammo, which has its uses here and there. It's mild, really. Then there's Overdrive, which on the surface sounds usable, as it slows down time, giving you time to breathe and single out targets, but due to the jank nature of the game, enemies will just straight up dodge your bullets before they hit them, and when Overdrive ends, it's just, you just wanted there to be more, right? There is also a shield, which is completely fucking useless, as it's just deployable cover, and 4 out of the 5 enemies in the game can hit you from behind cover. And lastly, there is the underrated sleeper hit, the decoy. The decoy, despite being the last one I unlocked, might actually be the best, as it drives all enemy aggro to it, and depending on which tier, you can have it last for a decent while, and when paired with the laser grenade, you can...
What is it?
the final boss with it on the hardest difficulty. There is also armor that not only provides aesthetic changes, but gives you a bigger health pool and bonuses, such as bonus cash, extra HP, or XP, HP? What the fuck? XP, health, regen, overall speed, and recharge rates. All in all, you get a multitude of tools that you only need to seriously consider when playing on higher difficulties. So, after shooting up the low-income neighborhoods, we make it to the penultimate level, Humanity Concourse. Here we fight 3 onslaughts of machines, with the third and final wave being grade A superb bullshit. Throwing way too many enemies, which on easy is a cakewalk, however on higher difficulties is uber shit. So, after we make our way through the gauntlet, we ascend up the tower, where we magically teleport to the top of a cryogenic building that houses the princess the robots were guarding without trouble. Seems too convenient to me. So, up here we open the pod and we find it's a trap. No, not that trap. And we encounter the game's most annoying enemy, the Ogre. This chode is the only boss in the game and downright aids to fight. He has the ability to shoot freaking lasers from his freaking mind from side to side, then follow that with the signature back-to-back Baja Biden ass blast. These 2 moves on their own are shitty, as the boss has no chill and does them each within a short repetition of one another. But then this boss has the audacity to puts you on a fucking side quest about a third of its health into the firefight, where he shields his eye with his little arms and pops out a minigun that lobs a grenade from where? I don't know. Maybe his prison wallet, maybe his ass crack. Who gives a shit? But this not so mini micro gun, more like macro gun at this rate, gun does a shitload of damage. But while I whittle it down to health before it retreats and the ogre goes back to his usual shit, then midway into the fight, he pops out 2 miniguns from the side, seriously pegging you, the player, because now it deals double the damage. So usual mindset here, spam a nade, then make one of the turrets slow, deal damage to the deal damage to their halfway point, and then they retreat, right? So carve a slab of the boss's health until the mega shit show begins, where now they're not 1, not 2, but 3 fucking turrets, and on higher difficulty, this boss lobs 3 nades at you pretty much at a single time, so you have to wait for one of them to explode before you can go into the safe space before the other 2 explodes. So yeah, you have to move in and out of cover, which is horrific at times because you have 3 macro guns shooting you constantly. Like, these things are on your ass. They shoot at you for a good solid maybe like 6 to 7 seconds, and then they'll only have like a little bit of a reprieve of like 3 to 4 seconds. So real bullshit, right? So lobs 3 nades, so you have to move in and out of cover. This is where the retard grenade and decoy come into clutch. As you deploy the decoy at the far end of the arena as a distraction, you just spam a nade on one of them just for good measure, just to keep your ass safe. You take them down one at a time, and then the boss, with his dangling macro guns, tries to finish you off with his regular moveset, where you can just bully him by just, again, spamming a decoy at the edge of the arena and hitting him with a slowdown, so that way, he's not, you're not moving, you're not having to move constantly. And yeah, so, you slow him down, mag dump his ass like an acorn. And boom, he's dead. No big surprise. And you look down over the city on the ledge of the building, and the game just ends.
What? What the fuck?
Yeah, so that just happened. But fret not. If you love Epoch, you too can play through it for about 13 more hours to obtain the high tier loot of the game. Not only do you really have to beat the game 3 more times, you also have to spend extra time, grinding to get gear and loot so you don't get your shit kicked in. Because there's no way in hell you can beat this game on the higher difficulties with the low tier weaponry. So when you have a 40-minute long game, you have to go through with the same levels over and over again with the same gear to purchase a multi-million-dollar weapon. Because, I don't know, I guess in the robot apocalypse, the Toucans, the tribe, the Israelites, still find a way to manage to fuck the economy and make everything unaffordable. But, I digress. Regardless, 40-minute long game, go through the same levels over and over again to purchase weapons with multi-million-dollar weapons, so you can bulldoze your way through the very difficult levels that change only slightly, as the only difference are the elemental damage and resistances enemies have. But wait, what's that? There's an endless mode, which gives you the option of verticality in combat scenarios. Can't you just use that? And to that, I say no, because not only do you get a pity dick amount for what you need, they also don't give you any extra gear, which I would argue is the main source of the economy in the game, as selling higher tier loot grants you more shekels. So just playing the missions on higher difficulty is your best bet. Now, you might be wondering, well, Zeno, if you beat the game on the hardest difficulty, do you get anything special maybe? And to that, I also say no. The game leaves you with a few more credits and gear, and that's it. Hell, even the intercepts take forever to collect, and there are so many of them, and you only get them when you beat a mission or play around in the endless mode. Intercepts are just generic-ass logs. All that I got from them is that there was an update that gave robots sentience and caused them to fight each other, and it caused the downfall of humanity, who resorted to dodgy cryopods for salvation. And I'm going to be honest, I didn't read them all because I got tired of the game. Nothing really helps settles the monotony after the second playthrough, because at that point the game itself doesn't change. Sure, you get equipment you couldn't have gotten in the first playthrough, but it doesn't change too much, and the only real difference is the game's significantly harder and, bashes your head in. It curb stomps you, essentially. And it takes a decent gameplay loop and stretches it out past the point of no return. In conclusion, Epoch is a unique game. Not in a Death Stranding way, but in a neat and endearing way, as the core gameplay loop itself is not terrible. It's only brought down by the grinding nature of a game made to squeeze money out of you so that you would buy the currency and dominate the Clanker hordes with whatever you bought. But I feel like if it was fleshed out more like its sequel, it could have been truly memorable. And for a game that runs perfectly fine on modern systems for about $2, there are significantly worse ways to spend that time and money. If only we got a third. Oh well, at least there's a second, right? Shit, it's only on mobile? Well, time to add that to the pile of mobile games that should be ported to modern systems. Anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Don't get too giddy about me making videos on games and shit, because I only intend to do videos on short and sweet things, and this video took way too much of my time to make. Anyway, so don't expect to see videos like this often, as the next ones I'm open to making are me reviewing Toy Fair 2026, because that was god fucking awful. Or maybe another short game like Butcher's Creek or Darkness 2, but I'm not promising anything, so if you want to see more of this, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.